bringing it to them all day. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Win or lose, we bringing it to you always. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Orange or black, we rebuild the pack. No matter where we at, you know we coming back. Section 336, we on this, so tune in. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Yeah, welcome to Birdland. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Now, here come the boys from Section 336.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Baltimore sports fans of all ages, welcome to Section 336, Next Generation Baltimore Sports Talk. I am your endearingly stuttering host, Matt Soroka. As always, I'm joined by the button lover, Josh Soroka. Josh, where were you when Aaron Judge became the home run king?
Aaron Judge is not the home run king. It's ridiculous.
I like to get Josh riled up right before the show starts.
Yeah, I know what you're doing. Meanwhile, I'm sitting over here doing the whole intro song, fighting with a beer cap that ends up being because it's not a twist off, and I thought it was a twist off.
Classic mistake there.
Doing a little mistake.
Well, your beer is too much quality.
Right, so I'm gonna have to go to just the water. Go to the water.
Yeah. All right, Josh. The Orioles just finished their last game, doubleheader. 1-1, lost one.
A doubleheader is quite the way to end the game, end the season.
Yeah. So this is it. Season done. Now the countdown begins towards spring training.
Spring training.
Catchers.
I don't know. The countdown.
Winter meetings.
Yeah. The countdown right now is to the day after the World Series. Today's countdown is to the start of free agency. Start a free agency for Mike Elias again today, coming out and saying, I'm not going to tell you what our payroll is because I don't want agents and other teams to know, but we're opening the checkbooks.
Yeah. I talked a little bit equivocally because then at the same time he said, but if we're going to be competing against the Yankees and Blue Jays and Red Sox, we need to really draft well and develop well, which implies to me we're not going to spend at their level.
Yes. Yeah. But at least he didn't say, hey, we're going to sign some free agencies, but remember, we're moving to Nashville.
Yeah.
Remember, we're selling the team.
Well, I think even if the Orioles move to Nashville, Mike Elias retains as GM, right? Or no?
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. And I mean, I've been to that Nashville Sounds Stadium, and Aaron Judge is going to hit some bombs out of that next year.
Yeah, it was. I just chuckled to myself thinking about if Aaron Judge didn't get another home run this year, and that one he hit to the wall at Camden Yards to Baltimore. But Mike Elias notably said,
"Why have I not heard Baltimore before?"
Really?
Well, why is that not the just universal name for that sign now? Baltimore.
That's to me what I've heard called the most. Baltimore. I'm
jotting that down because that sounds like a T-shirt all over it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's where your mind goes now. But
yeah, it does. It does.
No, but I remember Mike Elias said just recently. He said, about the wall that Elias built. He said, the wall is going to stay, obviously, but he said he's going to work on some more configurations, so it could change because they're working on more configurations in the ballpark. So this could just be the first of a lot of different things that they do.
Yeah, but I think this is the only one that will affect the playing field. I think the rest I think they no. If you want to talk about stadium upgrades, I think they want to open up the concourse and make it like all those modern stadiums where the one good thing about Nats Park is you can see the ball field while you're in the concession line. Stuff like that.
You don't think Mike Elias got a little happy? He can get a little engineering happy here. He sees just in one off season what you can do to a wall. Now he can move any wall up and back. I would be having a field day.
Well,
get architects in here. We have a field day of designing new field every year. Every year, Josh, we could have a new field.
Was he in Houston when they got rid of the hill?
I assume that was before his time, but I don't know. I don't remember. Still with St. Louis back then.
Yeah, maybe so. But I'm just saying, a hill out in center field.
No, I could have though, Josh. I thought about wearing my Orioles World Series 2023 shirt, but then I thought better of it. I said, no, this is not what this episode's about. This episode's about I got my Adley Rutschman Ironbird shirt on, either that or it's a Mike Messina shirt. Yeah. But no, this is about celebrating the year, the Orioles season That was a heck of an Orioles season.
Right. No, we're going to be selling. We're going to be looking. 2023 is going to be amazing. As soon as my bookie can let me put money down, I'm putting money down. You and I have been putting our stake into 2023 for 5 years now.
Yep.
So, yeah, 2023 is going to be great. But this season was really fun. And I think the ending of game 162 today, for the fans to stand there in a loss, in a meaningless game, and give an standing ovation to the Oriole players, shows what this year means to this team, to this city, to Birdland.
Yeah, and I couldn't be there in person, but I did give some clapping emojis on Twitter, so pretty much the same thing. And today we're going to get into kind of most valuable Oriole, some big surprises. But I started just jotting down, preparing for the show, like just stories that I really enjoyed this year, stories that I thought were entertaining this year, positive stories about the Orioles.
Okay.
And I was going to jot down like 3 or 4. And I just kept on going and going and going and going. Off the top of my head. More stories. There's just a ton of positive stories. And when you look at the negative stories, there's a couple things we can talk about. But biggest disappointment, it's kind of hard to identify because there's so many positive stories.
It is. It's been a fun season. And you don't have to win a World Series for a season to be considered successful. And going from 110 losses to
it was a 31 win swing. Yeah.
Right. For that type of swing, that is a huge difference. That's completely a successful season. That's better than you could have ever expected. And because of that, the fan base woke up. Attendance increased. The team was fun. Watching on TV was fun. Now, and all of that leads into next year. It all builds up to 2023. But it is, before we look forward, this is a great season to look at.
Yeah, and on the one hand, we said at the beginning of the season, and again, another episode, we got to go back and look at our bold predictions. But we said at the beginning of the season that this is going to be the most exciting season since Mike Elias got here, because you're going to start seeing the names of, the Adley Rutschmans and other top prospects. And we didn't know that Gunnar would play as well as he did, obviously, but we were excited because we knew Elias's drafted prospects would be finally making their way to Baltimore. Right. And so that part is expected, and they did. Like, these prospects arrived, not all of them, right? But most of them arrived, and that part was exciting. What we weren't expecting is just all the winning. And we'll talk about biggest surprises, but big story here. For me, it's A, the success of these young players, the success of Gunnar, the success of Adley Rutschman, and B, the biggest thing about this team compared to last year is the improvement of our pitching, specifically our starting pitching. We pitched kind of amazing, especially when you consider what I would argue the 2 best pitchers in our organization, Grayson Rodriguez and John Means. I think John Means pitched 2 games, and Grayson Rodriguez didn't pitch a game for the Orioles. So pretty remarkable what this pitching staff was able to do without some of the studs.
Right.
So where you want to start? You want to start with best stories, most valuable Oriole, best fielder, best hitter, biggest surprise, biggest disappointment?
Let's give our awards out at the beginning, because I really think best stories we could go on for a long time about.
Yeah.
So let's and a lot of those stories kind of come from some of these best players. So let's go with the obvious one. Let's go with the MVO. The Orioles beat reporters gave it to Adley Rutschman. And I think it's really hard to argue against Adley Rutschman. All this winning, this turn in this organization started the day Adley Rutschman came up.
Yeah, you can't argue with Adley Rutschman. He is our best player by pretty much every objective measure, whether you want to kick it old school with like doubles and on base percentage, or new school with WAR, like whatever, or then the wins created, weighted runs created plus, and all the defensive metrics. Like, Adley Rutschman, objectively and kind of just watching him, he is the best player on the team.
I can't remember a rookie impacting a team like Adley Rutschman did this year for the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one is Manny Machado, but that was even kind of in a smaller sample size and not quite the same whole team, because that team was already good.
The team was already playing well.
Yeah, when Manny got there, he did take the team to the next level, especially defensively. But yeah, it's different from being on a bad team and just making everybody better.
Yeah, no, the Manny transition was, let's bring this guy up in our weakest position.
Yeah, he's the missing piece here.
Right, and suddenly where Adley, it's the whole, like, you bring Adley up, and it's like it was like a wake up call to everyone.
Yeah, it was contagious. Yeah,
it was very impressive. I don't think he'll win Rookie of the Year in baseball because of the guy out in Seattle.
Yeah,
who just can't stop hitting the ball. But
he has the gaudy home run number, sure.
But yes, Adley had a bigger impact than Manny Machado on a team as a whole.
Yeah. And I think when I talk about and he's my MVO, Josh, he's your MVO as well.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
I think there's a couple other guys you can make a case for.
Well, yeah. Well, let's do some honorable mentions. But even the mindset of Adley running out there and hugging the pitcher at the end of the game.
Yeah.
The support
the cool handshake with Felix Bautista after every inning, running up there to the pitcher. All the players talking about him, the way they talked about him,
right?
Living up to the hype.
It's one person completely changing this organization. Like for many past years, we've said, "Hey, whose picture do you put up on the warehouse, hyping people up for the season?" Now it's, what do you not put Adley Rutschman on?
Yeah, and poor Gunnar, he got there second. So sorry, Gunnar. Adley got there
first.
Oh
no! Don't worry. There's going to be a lot of 2, 3, 4 person photos. Gunnar will get his cred.
Okay. He's the Robin to our Batman.
Okay.
Josh doesn't appreciate that analogy. Josh thinks we have two Batmans.
No. Let's go with the Avengers. They all have their part. They're all leaders. Okay. There is a leader of the Avenger, and I guess let's go with Captain America and Iron Man. They're both leaders, but one's actually in charge.
Okay. And Adley, I think, as Captain America makes sense.
Yes, Adley is Captain America.
Yeah. Other notable to me, I think there's just like 3 other guys you can make a case for. I think
Santander.
Yes, I think you could make. I mean, he led the team in home runs. He led the team in a lot of the power numbers,
and all quietly. No hype at all for him all year.
Yep.
As he did this.
Yep. Yeah. So I think he had a good year. Led the team in slugging percentage. So he had a good year. I think another guy you can make a case for, pitching wise, I think there's 2 guys that stand out to me.
All right.
Maybe you can throw a third guy in there. Felix Bautista, certainly, I think you can make an argument for.
Yeah. And who's your other pitcher?
I think this is a little weird, maybe, but just because of what he meant to the team, Jordan Lyles.
All right. See, I'm with you. And to the point that here's what Jordan Lyles did. You take away all those star players, you go to last year, and Jordan Lyles would have been an MVO last year because of how he was the inning eater, because he was Mr. Reliable.
I mean, he had like 55 more innings than the next highest guy.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting, right? That he was a bad interview, but they interviewed him during the show. I'm allowed to say that. I just thought, did you watch it?
He's a bad interview.
It is a bad interview. And it must be hard to get interviewed in the dugout too, because a lot of distractions or whatever. So I don't know. It is what it is. But the fact that he came to Baltimore because he wanted to come to Baltimore, he knew he was supposed to be kind of that guy with all these young pitchers. And to me, I think what's most kind of amazing is he wants to come back. Oh, right? I think all of a sudden,
crazy that I would like Jordan Lyles back.
Yeah, we'll get into this.
Price tag's too high.
Yeah, I mean, I think if this was last year again, I would be okay with it. But remember what we talked about last week. That's where I'm at. I'm at thank you for your service. We need to upgrade it all. I'd rather put that $11 million into a top rotation pitcher.
And I agree with that. But I also really appreciate what Jordan Lyles did this year.
Yeah, and I think he should be considered for the MVO just because our pitching staff. I mean, you saw it at the end too. Guys dropping like flies, right? Like Tyler Wells, he was dropping like flies. He couldn't pitch anymore. We were shutting guys down, and so the fact that he was able to step up and eat those innings over and over and over again. And he wasn't the best pitcher on the team, but I would argue he was the most important pitcher. An argument also could be made, Josh, for the best starter on the team. If you look at, I mean, it's kind of amazing if you look at some of the stats. Like Dean Kramer ended up with an ERA of 3.23. He led the team in WAR amongst the pitchers.
Yeah, we got some feedback on last week's episode that we did not give Dean Kramer enough credit. And after looking at the numbers, it's like, oh, yeah, Dean Kramer had an impressive year.
Yeah, you want to talk about quietly having a really good year. I mean, you talked about Santander. Dean Kramer, the numbers are great. And this is after being really good 2 years ago. Last year, I don't know what happened. Last year was a terrible year. But then the complete bounce back this year. And so yeah, he solidified himself as, I mean, this year, numbers wise, he was the best pitcher in our rotation. You could argue that Dean Kramer, more than Tyler Wells, more than Kyle Bradish, that Dean Kramer should be the opening day starter next year.
Yeah, but he won't be.
I think it's possible he is. I have no idea. Do you have any idea who's going to be opening day starter next year? I tell you who it won't be. It won't be Grayson Rodriguez.
Yeah,
I tell you who else it won't be.
John Means.
It won't be John Means. So it's going to be either a free agent
or Dean Kramer.
Or you're going to decide between Dean Kramer and Tyler Wells and Kyle Bradish or something.
You're right. We start on the road next year, don't we?
I don't know.
So.
All right, but those are, I mean, the other guy, I mean, I guess you can make an argument maybe for Jorge Mateo, for just kind of how important he was to that for a while there, for a couple months there. I think you could make an argument he was the MVO, but he cooled off there at the end. Josh, does Jorge Mateo making the last ground out of the season, does that put him in the doghouse going into next year?
No, it's more of a question of, is Jorge Mateo traded this offseason? Or does he stick around? There's no doghouse. This isn't ran by John Harbaugh.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, and again, we're not talking about 2023, but I'll just say this. Mike Elias did say one of the cool things about this free agency, he didn't use the word cool, I did, but one of the things about this team going to free agency is there's a lot of flexibility about who they want to sign. So if they want to sign an outfielder, a top-notch outfielder, they can do it. And not sign an infielder because they have Mateo, they have Westberg coming, so you don't need that. They have Norby, so you have prospects. You don't need to sign an infielder. But if the infielder kind of is that the guys they want and it's the right price and right years, then all of a sudden you can do an infielder and you have Colt Cowser and other prospects in the outfield. So you have prospects, top prospects in the outfield and in the infield. So it puts Mike Elias in a great position where it's not like, oh, what this one thing this team needs is a shortstop. That's not true. Gunnar Henderson can play shortstop. Yep. Mateo can play shortstop. Westbrook can play shortstop. Or the one thing this team needs is a left fielder. Because Colton Cowser can play left field. So this team doesn't need anything. They just need to get a little bit better offensively.
Right.
And so whoever that guy is, infielder, outfielder,
we can shift around.
Yeah, the Orioles have some flexibility there, which I think is a great position to be in.
And it's flexibility. It's not, we don't need you.
Right, because we want to upgrade offensively. Yeah. So we can get the best guy. We don't need to be, this is the last best shortstop, so we have to sign him. No, we don't.
Right. No. But I do like some of the free agent shortstops, so I'd be okay with that move.
Yeah. Josh, biggest surprise this year. Who was the player? There's a lot of candidates because a lot of players outperformed what we thought they would perform. But who for you is the biggest surprise?
It's got to be Gunnar Henderson. The fact
really?
Because Gunnar Henderson, I knew Gunnar Henderson was going to be good. I didn't expect him to come up and impact them. I believe one of my bold predictions was that we would see Gunnar Henderson this year. But saying that in March was pretty bold. And the way that he lit up the minor leagues and then made it to the majors and didn't cool down, he came in hot and made that impact to suddenly it's the Adley and Gunnar show. They're Maverick and Goose out there, was a surprise to me and not something I expected from. I didn't expect it as excited as I was for Gunnar Henderson to make an impact this year. This was supposed to be the Adley Rushman year. I know it sounds like a weak pick to go with a rookie, like your number one prospect, but he wasn't the number one prospect during the offseason. So to come out of the season that way,
and to make it, and not just Orioles number one, by the time he was caught up, he was Baseball America's number one prospect.
Right. Yeah. That was a surprise. I love that he still has his rookie year intact because I think he could make a good push for Rookie of the Year next year.
He's going to have some competition with Orioles starter. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be fun. Grayson Rodriguez and Gunnar in that competition. That'd be fun. Kind of like you had a little Batista hint in there this year. But I know that's the weak pick. You're thinking of someone like a Dean Kramer was obviously a surprise. Mateo being able to continue was a surprise. What would you have as your biggest surprise?
I lost connection with my audio. Can you still hear me, Josh?
Yeah.
I got a message coming up saying I lost my audio connection.
You're all right. You're good. We can all hear you.
All right. No, so for me, I feel like part of me wants to say Jorge Mateo just because he became like an everyday shortstop after struggling so long to be an everyday shortstop. Right. But I feel like the biggest surprise as a team to me is pitching. So I feel like I have to go with the pitcher. And to me, a name we probably didn't mention in a single episode in the offseason. And all of a sudden, he becomes one of the most exciting players. Josh, your favorite pitcher, and one of the most exciting pitchers in the team, going from unknown to kind of this guy we all love.
Yeah.
To me, Felix Bautista is the biggest surprise.
That's a Felix Bautista is an excellent answer for biggest surprise. Because it came out of nowhere and suddenly he represents the city.
Yeah.
So totally agree with you.
Yeah, and you can make an argument again. I don't know who said this, but Dean Kramer. So we don't make that guy angry again.
No.
Dean Kramer, big bounce back year for him.
Is it fair to say Brandon Hyde I would list as a big surprise this year? I know Brandon Hyde did some frustrating things, but there's some other times where I really liked the way he handled the bullpen. And I think when I look at how he handled this pitching staff the entire season, he did a great job. And the fact that Brandon Hyde went from a guy that I saw as a placeholder, and we'll bring in John Madden or someone, not John Madden, Joe Madden or someone next year.
John Madden would be more impressive.
Yeah, John Madden would be way more impressive. But the fact that now it's like, okay, yeah, Brandon Hyde's obviously the manager next year. I think this manager staff, after years and years of having horrible management staff and horrible issues and wanting to blame hitting coaches and bullpen coaches and blame all this stuff, the coaching staff, I got to give credit when the team turned around a 30-some game swing.
Yeah, and people want to pick out like little issues they have with Brandon Hyde, like his lineup. Like, oh my goodness, I never knew lineups could be such a storyline, but this year, lineups seem to dominate Twitter. Comments about the lineup, but for me, when you look at a manager's job, at its core, I don't even care. Like, there is the whole bullpen management thing. I get that, but at its core, a manager's job is to make the players better, and the whole coaching staff, right? Their job is to get these players to play better. And we just have guy after guy after guy, from Spencer Watkins to Austin Voth to Felix Bautista to Dean Kramer to Jorge Mateo, a roster of guys who got better this year.
And that lineup construction that everybody loves to complain about is part of managing, because it's how you keep your guys healthy, well rested, and happy. And a manager has to manage that part of the clubhouse, because it's not a bunch of robots we're putting out on the field.
Yeah, and it's hard to quantify that, right? Like the team culture, the atmosphere, the feeling, but clearly this team had positive vibes from the jump, and that's partly credit to manager Hyde.
And that dugout loved when Odor was out on the field.
Yeah.
So you had to put him out there sometimes. And defensively, he increased things. So it's a balance of clubhouse mentality, health, defense, offense, who you're facing, analytics, and manager Hyde and the entire club did a great job.
Yeah. Also, an honorable mention for most improved player, not because of how great he was this year, though he was good, how bad I thought he was going to be, and that's Keegan Aiken. I think Keegan Aiken, I thought going into the season, this guy's an absolute bum. Why is he on the team? Why is he taking my roster spot? And especially the first half of the year, and overall, you look at his numbers, he had a good year. especially compared to what I thought he would do. So just an honorable mention for Keegan Aiken. All right, Josh, biggest disappointment. I know this is a little bit harder to find it someone who's disappointed, but biggest disappointment on this team.
I mean, it's got to be biggest. All right, here we go. I know where you're going to go, so I'll leave the other one to you. So I'm going to go with the biggest disappointment: Adley Rutschman not being there on opening day, because Adley on there on opening day. If we saw that type of impact that we saw in late May at the beginning of the season, that's a few extra wins.
You think we're in the playoffs?
I think we're in the playoffs if Adley plays.
Isn't it interesting thing about
And I think that your biggest disappointment would have also gotten us into the playoffs, which also tells a lot about this year. That from nothing, we were a few injuries away from the playoffs.
Yeah. And I'm going that way because at the beginning of the offseason, the beginning of the season, we laid out New Guy Friday.
Right.
And the two biggest new guys was Adley Rutschman, and you're right, his start was delayed. And a guy whose start was delayed to the point where he never even got the pitch. And that's not ever getting to see Grayson Rodriguez pitch in an Orioles uniform. That for me is the biggest disappointment.
And once it was announced Adley was not going to be opening day, we marked on our New Guy Friday as Grayson Rodriguez being the first one up.
Yeah. Even before, if he wasn't the first, he was always the next.
Yep.
Number 2. Josh, I thought you were going to say the fact that Matt Harvey never made it to the Orioles.
I do like Matt Harvey.
I know you're a Matt Harvey guy.
He could have fit on this team. I assume it's just a 1-year option, and he's calling this offseason.
Yeah,
but good for Matt Harvey.
Lyle says he wants to come back. Chirinos says he wants to come back on a major league deal.
Everybody on this team wants to come back. That's the type of clubhouse Brandon Hyde has built.
Wow. Yes, and we know where we're going. The players know.
Well, it's only up for you. And I know 2023. The guys in the clubhouse know 2023 also. Yep. Maybe I need to just take a bunch of 2023 World Series championship shirts and just send them to the Orioles players.
Yep.
And Carlos Correa. Pick some big free agents, and we'll send the 2023 shirts there.
Max Scherzer, DeGrom. I know. Right. I don't know if Max Scherzer, but DeGrom, Justin Verlander.
Yeah, not Max Scherzer. He'll cut it up.
Carlos Rendon. No, you got to worry about Chris Sale.
Chris Sale. That was Chris Sale. I was getting the two confused.
Yeah.
Wait, Max Scherzer's a free agent? Max Scherzer's not a free agent.
Yeah, I don't think he's a free agent. I think he did like 3 for 90 or something.
I love Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer's my favorite pitcher.
Yeah, I love him too. I was mad that I'm in Braves country. I was mad when the Braves swept the Mets because I'm all on board the Mets.
That's what I was going to ask you. We're all on board the Mets. I think
I want to see my man Buck Showalter there as long as possible. Yeah, it's weird to root for a team pretty much solely because of the manager, but that's where I'm at.
I'm right there with you, and Max Scherzer. But yeah, let's see Buck take down Manny.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some best stories. I have 2 notes here. One for best story, and one for best personal memories from this season.
All right, you don't want to go like best position player, best defense, best pitcher. You want to do any of that stuff?
I feel like we talked a lot about stuff with the
all right
MBO. We can go.
All right. Let's go to these stories.
All right.
We don't need an entire award show.
Right.
That's kind of. There's other things. Podcasts don't need to do award shows.
No, that would be silly. So one of the top stories for me that became a thing this year. Does this continue after this year? I don't know. But the home run chain. Let's start there. The home run chain was not a thing when the season started. It caught on and became a thing. I think the home run chain was a cool story this year. I don't know if it continues, but I loved it this year.
Now it says I'm muted. I think we're still broadcasting, but yeah, I guess it's the fired up guy. He became the marketing, and that was on all of the Orioles stuff for fan appreciation weekend. Looks like Matt fell offline. I'm guessing he's going to come back online in just a moment. Lost your first, Matt.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back. I don't know what happened.
Of course, technology. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm with you. Home run chain, great addition. I've noticed I've been paying more attention to teams, and I know some other teams have the home run chain. I know some people tried to move it over to the Ravens with the touchdown chain.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Poor Boys is selling touchdown chains. I keep getting ads for it. The Ravens have not embraced that. I love the way the Orioles embrace the home run chain.
Yeah, it's got to be a player thing. If the players don't get behind it,
it's got to be a player thing. So I'm all for anything like that. Anything to make baseball fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. You're
doing the goggles.
Yeah, the goggles is definitely a fun thing from this year. It was fun to see the Oriole players still doing the goggles today, even though it's like, hey, it's a meaningless game, but still, they're having fun. They're enjoying it. I mean, we play softball games that are really meaningless in the end, but we still have fun, and that's what we got to see the Orioles do. The Orioles goggles is fun. I'd love to see that carry in the next year as well. Especially since I got an Oriole shirt up on Birdland Sports of the Oriole bird doing the goggles.
There you go. The other big stories, again, we go on and on all day, but I think Trey Mancini, that whole story about trade or not trade and what he means to Baltimore, I thought was kind of important, interesting conversations. And then of course, the whole Mo Gaba day, inside the park home run right before he's traded. I mean, that's just you can't write a script like that. That's pretty cool.
No, that's all the baseball magic stuff. Where baseball more than any other sports hits those weird things. Like you saw the Aaron Judge stuff with today's record going in, and they were 99 and 62 the day after he hit the 62 home run, 62nd home run. Yeah. So they were his number and his number of home runs as their record. That's just cool stuff that you only see in baseball.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. This is going back from the beginning of the season, if you have the memory to remember. Chris Owens. There was so much talk about why Chris Owens is still on this team. And he only played, I look back, he only had 68 plate appearances, but it felt like he was up here for like 5 months. But no, he was just up here he only played in 27 games. So
yeah, but he was on the bench a lot of games.
Yeah,
he was taking the problem that with the Chris Owens frustration was because we knew we had rookies that we wanted to see.
Yeah, but it's kind of impressive that Chris Owens only played in those 27 games, only had 68 plate appearances. But if you look at the position players by WAR, he is second in negative WAR, or second worst player according to WAR, and just in a very small sample size. Only Robinson Chirinos has a worse WAR, and it's like double what Chris Owens is.
Yeah, Chirinos' this WAR might have showed you why Adley made this team better.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at all the negative WAR guys, it's like a list of guys who are like a question mark. So why they're on the team? Tyler Nevin, Jesus Aguilar, Anthony Bemboom, Kelvin Gutierrez, who I forgot actually even played in 12 games this year. Rylan Bannon, DJ Stewart, who I forgot only had 3 at-bats all year.
I forgot that DJ Stewart even was on the Orioles this year.
Yeah, he spent more time at Norfolk than at Baltimore.
Yeah. What about Brett Phillips? Brett Phillips on there?
Brett Phillips is actually he's there. He's there in the negative WAR. He's the last guy there.
Is that's going to be a trivia question 5 years from now.
Yeah. Brett Phillips and Jesus Aguilar too. Those are just weird names.
Who finished the season on the team? So who knows?
He got to play in the last game. I think, did he bat 3 or 4? He was like batting cleanup in the last game of the season.
Brandon Hyde played Little League coach today. Where for game 161 and 162 being a doubleheader, he told everyone before the game, every single person in this clubhouse is playing today.
Yeah.
So he got them all in.
Yeah, It's a little bit weird to me, but whatever.
Oh,
like why totally Adley Rutschman wasn't DHing or even pinch hitting there at the end? Whatever. I don't really care.
No, it's totally weird, and Adley was probably getting the orange slices ready.
Yeah. The other, I think, great story this year, talk about the home run chain, the goggle. The other kind of promotional / player play on the field is the emergence of Batista as our closer, this amazing pitcher with an amazing splitter and 101 mile per hour fastball.
And an amazing intro.
And the intro, the wire intro, the whistle. That's a pretty cool story from this year as well.
No, like I can't
and that would definitely
I can't wait to get to a night game next year to see that. The videos are all cool, but I want to be in the stadium when that happens.
Yeah. Other cool story this year, we ran the bases, man, between Jorge Mateo and Cedric Mullins, the first duo, I think since 1970s or something, to lead the league at first and second in stolen bases in the American League. Who I forget, it was Rutschman first. I'm not Rutschman. It was Mateo. No, he wasn't the leader of stolen bases. Was Mullins first or Mateo first? I don't know, but they were first and second. So good on them. That was a cool story.
Mateo had 35 and Mullins had 34.
Okay, so first and second there.
Do you know who was third for the Orioles?
Oh, who was third for the Orioles? Ryan McKenna?
No. McKenna had 2. Hayes had 2.
Odor
had 6. Rougned Odor, third for the Orioles stolen bases.
Yeah, I was looking at this. I don't understand WAR. We should talk to someone who understands WAR. But they have WAR for offense, WAR for defense, and WAR for base running.
Yeah.
And I don't understand base running WAR because first is Mateo. You would never guess who second is.
Odor?
No, it's Rutschman.
Maybe because of the doubles.
And then
he was a double machine. I would assume Odor's at the bottom because we saw Odor run into multiple.
That's what I would think too, but he's fifth. It's Mullins, McKenna, and then after Mullins, McKenna, and Mateo is Odor. It's kind of wild. And maybe because he was second on the team in third on the team in stolen bases. But you're right. I mean, that's interesting. We're not top of the league. It's weird, right? Because we're middle of the pack in stolen bases, but we have the 2 best stolen base stealers in the league.
Right.
So it shows you that there's not a lot of speed on the team outside. Now, that would change with Gunnar Henderson. I think if Gunnar Henderson plays a full season, he's going to get 15 steals or something. But you have 35, 34, and then 6 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that'll increase.
Adley had 4 stolen bases, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Other great storyline. We got them on draft pick this year. Jackson Holiday.
Right. Which means it gets to continue. We get to do the countdown to Holiday.
Yeah.
Of course, he's a young kid. It's going to take a little longer.
But that combined, I think, with this whole season, there's a lot of talk about the Orioles farm system. You mentioned the emergence of Gunnar Henderson. It seemed like almost every player in the farm system had great years. And so we became the unanimous kind of, even with the promotion of Adley, even with the promotion of Gunnar, I think most people have us as, if not the top, near the top of the best farm systems in baseball. Yeah, after graduating the top 2 prospects in all of baseball. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and what we got to see this season is how the national media handled the Baltimore Orioles, where from a laughing stock to a little bit paying attention to, by the end of the year, all bought in with the Orioles, especially that farm system and the future of the Baltimore Orioles, where no one's poo-pooing the future of the Baltimore Orioles. Now, where this offseason, all the jokes were how the Orioles are going to set another record for a horrible season because they've got no payroll.
Yep, it's going to be a completely different conversation this offseason.
Yeah.
Because people also know what happened this offseason. Even if we brought back the same roster, which we won't, but even if we brought back the same roster, I don't think this season's fluky, right? Like, this is not a season where, we're a 60-win team, but everything just went our way this year. No, this team has legit talent.
Well, that's what's special about baseball. 162 games does not allow flukes. You can be hot for a month. You can be hot for 2 months. There's nothing that randomly happens for 162 games.
Yeah. Some people would argue some of those Dan Duquette, Buck Showalter years with the extra innings, how many of those 1-run games we won. Some people argue that might be a little bit fluky, but yeah.
There was none of that this year.
None of it. We mentioned, I think the bounce back season, specifically of a rotation. I think of Dean Kramer, his bounce back year. I think of Spencer Watkins, the best year of his career. I think of Austin Voth, who was terrible for the Nationals. The second he gets here, he turns into one of the best pitchers on our team. Yeah. The turnaround by almost every single pitcher to have better years and even career years is a huge story this year. And that's going to be, again, we always go to 2023, but good luck predicting this rotation, especially if we sign a couple guys.
No, totally agree. And I think also the emergence or the wake up, another good storyline for me for this season is the wake up of the fan base. That the Orioles fan base returned to Camden Yards. We saw Orioles Twitter come back to life. We saw it online come to life. We had our attendance this year in Camden Yards surpassed 2020, 2021, obviously because of COVID, but it also surpassed 2019, the last year of like a full baseball season without any type of COVID restrictions.
Yep, and I'm willing to bet money that next year it'll surpass this year.
Oh, yeah, no. And we're selling, I guarantee we're selling more season ticket memberships and everything this year.
Because you want to get those playoff tickets, yep.
Yeah, you got it. So yeah. I think that's exciting.
Let's see. For me, the best story of the season, this is the best story for me personally of the season. The drama between John and Lou Angeles. I know it's not on many other people's radars. Many people don't care. But for me, that brought so much joy to my life. Just the drama. And I shouldn't take joy at other people's drama. I do. I can't help myself. But to me, that was a fun storyline, kind of undergirding this whole the Orioles success.
And I will say, if you go back and find the 336 episode where we discussed it as brothers, kind of breaking down some brotherly drama.
Yeah, even just discussing this story, it was one of the highlights of my season.
It's one of my favorite episodes that we did of the season. Yeah. I totally agree with you. And that's not going away. That's going to be here in the this is going to be here in the off season. But it's crazy how much it's funny to see in Twitter and Facebook posts as fans take sides of the Peter side or the John side or the Lewis side, and the people who take the Lewis side are the people who decided to hate on the Orioles years ago. They're the guys that's like, oh, Adley's not on opening day, burn my tickets.
Yeah. Oh, and you can tell a lot by a fan if you just see someone comment, see anyone make comment about Elias or quoting Elias spending money this offseason, going to free agency. Just look at the comments, and you can
you can totally see if they're on board or not on board based on their type of comment. Agreed with that. Matt, I can't hear you. I'm not sure what happened, but I cannot hear you. You're going to restart and hopefully come back. I know. I find that Twitter is a lot more positive Oriole fans, and I think it's because it's more younger people who are getting on board with this, where Facebook is the land of the Oriole fans that hate Mike Elias, hate Peter Angelos, hate the Orioles organization. This team will not win no matter what happens until the Angelos family gets rid of the team.
Yeah. And they'll always be there. And maybe, I mean, we could be seeing maybe the end of the Angelos ownership group, which brings up a whole nother bunch of discussions for a later time, if it's good or bad for the Orioles. I think you could argue both ways, whether it's good or bad for the Orioles to have new owners. But it's definitely a possibility.
I got a good thing about the fan base coming back is also, as we see them return to Camden Yards and TV and Twitter, they've also returned to Section 336. So fun. It's been fun for a bunch of 336ers to come back and for the show to do well again.
Yeah. Yep. I'm guilty of the two. I listen to more Orioles podcasts when they win. When they don't lose, I don't want to listen.
No, I understand. We were still here. Shop was still open during the recession, but it's a whole lot more fun to shop now.
Yep, the market is booming, and and I mean, and we just talked about a bunch here. There's just so many good storylines to talk about, which makes it more fun to do this podcast when we're talking about fun storylines like we have been able to this year. That's what I got for best stories, and I got some personal moments. I don't know if you have any, Josh.
Yeah, I do too. Moments. Yeah.
Well, I like to point out, just in general, we talk a lot here about kind of our identity as kind of family members and as brothers and as, sons to our father and just as people, right? Our identity is wrapped up with the Orioles.
Especially the family side.
Yeah. And this year was unique because both of our personal lives underwent some pretty drastic changes along with the Orioles. So it was pretty cool in the midst of these kind of drastic changes to have the Orioles there. And for me, it showed up in the way that my son this season became like understanding at 5, understanding what baseball is and really a fan of baseball, and what great timing for him to kind of become aware of this thing called baseball.
Right. No, and it is. It's funny because as Silas is learning about baseball and falling in love with the Orioles, I get a stepson. And suddenly I get to take an 8-year-old and do the same thing and turn him into loving the Orioles, loving Austin Hayes. And I get to take him to Camden Yards for the first time, to see the Ironbirds, which was my first time in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
To see the Bay Sox, to see the Tide down here. I saw 3 levels of minor league play plus the major league squad this year.
Yep.
Because all 3 levels of every level of the Orioles organization is fun right now. And to share that with a son is really special.
Yeah. I was going to say I saw 4 levels, but then I said a lot because I never saw Norfolk, but I saw Delmarva, Aberdeen, and Bowie. Yeah. And like taking my son, and we did the autographs things for the first time this year. We got in autographs, and I don't care about autographs really. Like I don't care. But for me, it's like the interaction with the players, especially at minor league games, having conversation with Kobe Mayo, having conversation with Henderson Kerstedt.
Yeah.
That's real cool to me. I mean, I'd rather have a 5-minute conversation with the player, honestly, than sign baseball.
No,
but my son's super into the signing, and just that connection was a highlight for me on a personal level.
Oh, totally. I got to call Gunnar Henderson over, have him get his autograph, and then 2 days later, he's playing for the Baltimore Orioles. So I got to say, can't wait to see you in Baltimore, and then 2 days later, point on the TV and say, hey, Owen, there's the guy who just signed your ball. It's awesome, that connection.
Yep, and for me, one of the highlights in the minor league games is going to Aberdeen and seeing DL Hall pitch to Adley Rutschman at Aberdeen, which is probably not fair to have those 2 guys pitching in Aberdeen,
right.
But they're both going through like their rehabs together. And even though Adley subbed me for an autograph, it was still one of the highlights of my season is seeing those 2 young birds. And like you said, with Gunnar Henderson, like knowing like Henderson Kerstedt, it was really fun to talk with him, but he's a ways away now. But talking to 2 guys that you knew would be in Baltimore not before too long is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I hope we can get some of those guys this offseason to talk to 336 because this is a cool time and the emergence of it. It reminds me of, as we're thinking about who we got to talk to in minor league parks, it reminded me of who we got in Bowie, who we didn't mention with all the Orioles and surprises and stuff, Ramon Urias. We should have mentioned him also as a guy who had a sneakingly good year.
Yeah. Yeah, he was good. Like I said, I mean, everyone had a good year. I mean, the guy you could argue had a bad year. Chirinos, maybe Odor, if you want to go that direction. But those were not. Those are veteran players.
No. And Odor had some fun game-winning hits.
Yeah. I mean, to me, my best memory of the season was going with my son to that 13-inning game and being there with my dad and my son, my dad, our dad, and my son, and staying the whole time, which I never would. I mean, I'm an idiot for taking a 5-year-old to a 13-inning game.
Right.
And he was like asleep on the seat by the time it happened. But like having him witness that with me, and then it was always a talking point after that of remember that when he hit the ball on Utah Street. So that 13-inning walk-off, and Odor, he did go on a little bit of like a mini streak of walk-offs. Like it was his thing in May to just do walk-off home runs.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that. So even Odor, I mean, people hate on Odor all you want. I mean, he, for me, provided one of the best memories of the year. So take that.
All right. Personal for me would be launching Birdland Sports this season.
Okay.
And the success that they had. I wish I launched it a whole lot earlier in the season. but I didn't get to it until late in the season, which fell in time with people still falling in love with the Orioles, and had an amazing season. And it was so much fun constantly creating new Orioles gear that I get now. Will definitely be continuing that into next season.
Yeah, no, that's a cool thing. That's a cool thing.
And cool to see like my shirts when I'm watching a Masson game, and I'll see it in the stands.
Yeah,
or see someone post a picture of a shirt I designed on Twitter.
Oh, and the last thing I just want to mention about having my son be in the baseball now, I was going through some kind of like crisis moving to Atlanta.
Yeah,
like thinking about in terms of if this was 2019 or something. Like, I don't know. Like what do I do? Do I raise my son as an Orioles fan, knowing I'm just setting him up for heartache the rest of his life when he could root for a really good run franchise here in Atlanta?
That's gonna win the World Series. Yeah,
that's
hard. It's hard to root against a World Series winner when we were the type of squad we were.
Yeah, but now, like my son, I'm cool with. He can go outside and he does home run derbies and pretends to be Gunnar Henderson, and I feel good about that because Gunner's going to be here next year and the year after and the year after, and the Orioles going to be good and competitive. And even if they don't make the playoffs every year, they're going to be a good baseball team. And so I feel good raising my son to be an Orioles fan and not subjecting him to a life of misery.
No, it's fun. Hopefully. I coach Little League now, and I'm the bench coach and lineup coach and all. And it's fun to hear Owen in the dugout because he's telling stories about Oriole players. He's talking about Orioles. He's wearing number 21 because of Austin Hayes. Like, that would not have happened 3 years ago with the way the Orioles have been playing.
My son does talk a little bit too much about Aaron Judge, and I don't know where that comes from.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I don't know where he sees it. I mean, it's not like he's watching Sports Center.
Does he use the MLB app?
Yeah, he watches the condensed games and the recaps.
All right, so maybe it's because baseball is celebrating Aaron Judge a little too much to try to get out of this whole steroid era talk.
Even when you watch the Orioles, like they talk about Aaron Judge a lot. Like everyone talks about Aaron Judge. So it's like it's a little bit hard to get past his name. So he thinks Aaron Judge is the best player there is.
Where's Aaron Judge playing next year?
Oh, where's he? Oh, I have no idea. I would guess the Yankees.
I don't know. I think he goes out west. I think one of those California teams.
I mean, certainly the Dodgers would love to have him.
There's a bunch of money out there. Dodgers, San Francisco has had some crappy years. They got to compete with the Padres and Dodgers doing well.
Yeah, I mean,
Angels are going to need to replace Ohtani after they trade him.
Yeah, I mean, why would you trade Ohtani? Why not just sign Ohtani instead of signing Judge? But
I know,
but
get more back.
I think the best story would be if he signs with the other New York team, the Mets. I think that would make me happy, and
that would be a
great story.
Of course.
I mean, I hope he does this. I mean, I have mixed feelings. I hope he signs the Yankees and turns into Chris Davis. But
I'm so excited for next year with the new schedule lineups and play everyone and don't play your division as much.
Are you?
To see how that impacts. I am because as a guy that was against interleague play forever, interleague play isn't going anywhere. Yeah. So if you can make it a little more evenly scheduled for everyone, I like that. Yeah. The fact that every other year the Orioles will be in either Atlanta or Miami, I love that as a fan down here.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm pumped about going to see the Orioles play in Atlanta, but there is something about, not the Orioles are good. It's not fun getting pummeled by them for every year, but there is something cool about in the division. Yeah, like you got to beat your division. Like you got, and it's unfortunate that the division we're in just has no weak spots. But there's something cool about, to make the playoffs, you got to win your division, and you got to go through these division teams and prove that you're the best division team,
but you know what?
In the division.
We're still going to be in the division. We're still going to play them more than anyone else. So that's still there.
Yeah. Just not quite so much.
Right.
Yeah. No, I kind of have mixed feelings, but I agree with you, I think. No, I'm excited. I mean, you mentioned the schedule change. I'm excited about all the rule changes for next year for baseball. I think about time. Good for baseball getting the rule changes. Yes. I'm all on board for 2023 in kind of every respect. This is gonna be, for Oriole fans, this is gonna be the longest off season of our lives, because every rumor, before we could dismiss every rumor, like
now we're the leader on every rumor.
Last offseason, the Carlos Correa rumors were kind of fun, but I never got my hopes up.
No.
Like I could dream that it would work out, but I never said,
but never thought it was a reality.
It would never thought it was reality. This offseason, I'm gonna be thinking every rumor could be a reality.
Yeah.
Right. So it's gonna be, and
right.
99 of them won't work out. Hopefully 1 or 2 works out. But it's gonna, and then after we get them, like we want this. I want the season to start tomorrow. I'm already itching.
99 of them won't work out. So no Aaron Judge to Baltimore.
99. I don't see Aaron Judge in Baltimore.
Yeah, I don't see Aaron Judge in Baltimore either, especially after Baltimore.
But we could use him.
Sure.
I would take him. I'll take him. Squad.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, he might want to sign with Orioles, Josh, just so he doesn't need to go against Orioles pitching, because Orioles pitching had his number last series.
Right.
We owned Aaron Judge.
According to the announcers, we walked Aaron Judge and never gave him anything good to hit.
I think we struck him out more than we walked him. Josh, do you think we should have grooved fastballs down the middle for Aaron Judge so he could have got his home run?
No.
Even if we were out of the playoffs, we shouldn't groove for Aaron Judge?
No.
Is it okay to walk a guy when you're not going to win anything?
You're trying to win the game. You're trying to set personal records. That home run, you don't get a little mark where that home run doesn't count against your ERA because you grooved it to Aaron Judge.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I kept on thinking about, and I agree, I think we pitched him well. I was really pleased with how we pitched him. But I was thinking about, every team has that player who crushes us every year. And I was like, how come we don't pitch like that to these other guys who crush us every year? I was wanting a little more of that, of pitching around guys. I think we should do that more with great hitters, not less. But
I agree.
I think it makes sense when you have a guy who's their best hitter on the team by far.
That just kills
to not give them very many good pitches to hit. I think that makes sense to me.
Right.
But you're right. Yankees announcers think you just throw strikes every time.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. All right. Anything else, Josh? Wrapping up this season. This other point I want to make. I know the Means and Rodriguez injury thing. Overall, though, I think it was kind of a remarkable year. Injury free. Like, what position player?
Urias was down for a little bit.
A little bit.
That's a little bit.
And that was kind of it, right? There was no major injuries.
No, really great healthy season.
And then DL Hall, who hasn't had a healthy season, I feel like, in forever. DL Hall stayed healthy the whole season.
And really good out of the bullpen down the home stretch.
Yes, I liked what I saw from him. He pitched well today, too. I liked what I saw from him. I think he's going to be a force next year. I'm excited for his offseason. And then Heston Kjerstad, right, who's been trying to get healthy all year. He played most of the year healthy. So I think I think for the most part, our prospects outside of Grayson Rodriguez, and the Grayson Rodriguez thing wasn't like Tommy John. It was just, he could have played if the season went on for another couple of weeks.
Yeah.
He was pitching at the minors by the end of the year. So it wasn't a super serious injury.
Nope.
So I think overall, just very healthy year.
No. Yeah, I agree. Batista, they shut down a little early. But
Tyler Wells too, but not serious injuries.
No, nothing serious. More of let's be safe. We're playing for next year.
Yeah. If they were pushing for the playoffs, I guarantee he would have kept on pitching. They were pushing for the playoffs.
Yeah. And of course, big highlights for this year is just all the rookies that we saw.
Yep.
Adley, Gunnar, DL Hall, given that their first games in Camden Yards, seeing crowds come out, all that.
Yep. And we're going to have similar conversations next year when we talk about Jordan Westberg and Connor Norby and Colton Cowser.
It's crazy. It's so special.
And then after that wave, we'll get into the Heston Kjerstad, hopefully, and Jackson Holiday will be next on that list. We're talking about 2 years.
What a special time to become an Oriole fan.
Yeah. It's good times. What a special time to move away from the state of Maryland. Great job.
Hey, do you know who has had more time at the bottom of the AL East since 2012? I'll tell you, it's not the Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, the Red Sox.
It's the Red Sox.
Red Sox love to do the I'm great one year, I'm the worst team in the league the next year. They love to do the flip-flop. They've always had.
Yeah, they do.
They're going to have an interesting offseason. They're going to be the AL East. I guess Toronto's pretty set. The Rays do their thing.
And New York does their thing.
Well, yeah, but New York with the whole Aaron Judge is going to be interesting.
Yeah. And the fact that the limelight is really on the Mets this year.
Yeah.
And you got that inner city argument.
Yeah, and then the Red Sox are going to be really interesting. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to also see what our counterparts do, because the Red Sox could knock it down even more, and or they could sign Devers and some of their other young players. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Good time though for the all those Serena Park fans to come back to the Orioles. Now that the Red Sox are struggling, good time for all those Nats fans to come back to the Orioles. And
great time for the Nats fans to leave.
Really a great time to start seeing Camden Yards fill up again next year. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. And to show well on the road, like we'll be doing, showing well on the road.
I've already printed out the schedule and started marking what road games I'm going to.
Yeah,
because we're traveling. Then next year's the time to catch them. We haven't gone to Fenway yet. Next year might be where you and I have to plan a trip to Fenway.
Yeah, I've done mini Fenway, the Fenway in whatever city it is in Florida.
Yeah, they're minor league stadium. I know we've gone up on the fake green monster, which I think I think it's blue down here. I think it's a blue monster.
Okay,
but no, we haven't done Fenway. This is a good time to do Fenway. I've got Seattle marked as one that I might go a road trip I might go on this year, because they got a weekend in Seattle. Obviously, we're going to hit Atlanta together. It's a fun time to be an Oriole fan.
Yep, agree completely. All right, and this was a fun year. All in all, you walk away from this. You walk away feeling good. You didn't win the whole thing. You didn't win the jackpot, but you came in with nothing, and you walked away with something. Even if it's not the whole thing, you walked away with something. And so, and you take them in the off season, you bring it in next year, and it's all in all 2 thumbs up for this year's season. It was a good season.
Can I bring up a quick Ravens question before we get out of here?
You want to point out the fact that they have been behind for 10 seconds in the first 4 games and are 2-2.
That's a funny stat. I wanted to ask you, who do you blame on the loss? Lamar Jackson throwing the interception, or John Harbaugh not taking the points and putting Tucker out there at 4th and 2?
Here's my hot take. It's a long season, and week 4 doesn't really matter that much. And if you think John Harbaugh is going to be fired, like people call him to be fired, he has too much credibility to fire mid-season. No,
it's
you
the same
give him
people
the
like
whole
Gonzalez
season.
Who's been calling him to be firing him for years.
Yeah. You give him the whole season, and then you sit back. I'm not making any pronouncements, but no, I think I blame Lamar Jackson. I don't think you can score 20 points and beat the Bills. I think obviously in retrospect they should have kicked the field goal, but for Lamar Jackson not to score the whole second half of the game, that's on that offense. Right. That's on Lamar.
And he didn't have to throw that interception if he would just found the guy earlier.
Yeah, there was a guy open,
and there was another guy open as well. Yeah. So it was a forced interception.
Yeah, but just even not that single play, like you got to score more points if you want to run with the Bills. You got to score more points.
No, what it showed is we can hang with the Bills. We just got to take that next step, and we're only at week 4.
Yeah,
we're at week 4 with a NFL now that has made preseason shorter, and then they don't even play the real players during preseason. So you really take 5 weeks to get warmed up in the season.
Yeah, people have to watch more NFL games. The league is crazy now. I mean,
scoring's way down.
The Jets are 2-2. We whooped the Jets like they were jokes, and the Jets are out there beating teams. Like there's just such parity in this league that week to week. And you're telling me, and I think the number is something like 10 seconds we've been behind in the first four games. Like we're doing something right, and as long as we figure out, we have the whole season to figure it out. And if we stay relatively healthy, I think that's a huge thing too in the NFL. Who gets hurt and who doesn't? I mean, but we're tied for first in our division at 2-2. So I think it's a long season, and people are too reactionary after week 4. Chill out.
Totally agree. I'm right there with you.
All right. Though we better beat the Bengals.
Yeah, gotta, especially in our division where
and last
you only
year
need 9 wins.
Last year they whooped on us. That's a Sunday night game.
And it's in Baltimore. We don't. Yeah. Well, it's a Sunday
night. What's with not winning in Baltimore? What's with that too?
That's what I'm saying. We don't win in Baltimore. But hey, you guys coming to town this weekend?
Yeah.
We're gonna be together for Sunday night. We haven't watched the Ravens game together in a long time.
Oh, yeah. I never even thought about that. Yeah, because we're going back on Monday. So, yeah.
All right, cool. We get to watch that together.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
It's fun. Yeah, it's been a while.
All right. Well, you ready to get out of here?
Yeah, let's get out of here. Thanks for that Ravens talk to end it.
Hey, just because the Orioles season's over, don't unsubscribe to Section 336.
Yeah.
We're continuing every week still. This is going to be a fun offseason for the Orioles. So stick around here. Go do the rate review thing on iTunes. Tell your friends. Let's grow 336 to something special. I'd love to have another 336 night at the yard next year. And we might be able to make it happen. As long as we keep growing.
I mean, we're closer to having a night at Tropicana Field. But yeah, no, I hear you.
Hey, I'll give a little plug. Now I'm blanking. The guys what's the Orioles minor league podcast?
On the Verge?
On the Verge. On the Verge has a live show Thursday night, October 6th. So if you're listening to this right away, it's either tomorrow or tonight. Check it out. Check their Twitter, Facebook, and all that, and go help them out. Go check out their live show. I don't know if they've announced the guests, so I'm not going to say who it is right here, but they've got some pretty cool guests for their live show tonight.
I'm sure they get the best guests. Yeah. Live shows are fun. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. All right, boys and girls, thanks for listening to another edition of Section336.com. Follow us on all your social media platforms.
I'm not listening to Section336.com. I don't think that's how the internet works, but go ahead.
All right, Josh, I'm just closing us out. I'm not thinking about what I'm saying. I'm just speaking words.
It's the Sydney podcast.
Exactly. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me at twitter.com to clarify there.
You can listen to me over at Twitter.
Twitter.com/section. No, you follow me Section336. You can follow Josh on Twitter.
At Josh Soroka, and also check out Birdland Sports. I'll be doing sales now that it's the off season to the World Series. Gonna put the shirts a lot cheaper and then get ready for Christmas.
And with every shirt sale, Josh donates $1 to the Sign Carlos Correa Fund. So go and support that as well.
Oh, is that where we want to direct our money now?
To Sign Carlos Correa? Is there someone else you'd rather have?
I don't know. I have to look. I'll let you know next week.
All right, where that money's going.
All right. I got to look at free agency. Gunner's a better shortstop than I expected. Mateo, I wasn't expecting. Carlos might not be the answer. Not saying no.
All right,
but
next week, I want your top 3 next week. In the dream scenario, your top 3 next week.
All right. My dreams next week. Got it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, boys and girls. And as always, go O's and go Mike Elias. Sign some free agents.